Greetings, Lewis, and welcome to another video. So, uh, in the past week, I faced a bunch of different decks. Post Phantom Nightmare, involved with the tournament deck. I showcased like my experience with packs, free weekly tournaments that he's doing. Post Phantom Nightmare, and the deck that beat me at the semifinals, which technically was the finals because the way Pac does his tournaments is that he does not have a finals match. He just divides the reward between like the top two players at the tournament, meaning that if I would have won the duel, it would have been like pretty much the finals. But I lost the finals to Goblin Raiders, and I kind of want to talk about them because out of everything that comes out in Phantom Nightmare, I think this is a strategy that has been very underexplored. Not many people are talking about this strategy, and not many people know what this archetype does. And I kind of wanted to give myself a handful of experience with this strategy and just know how often or how strong this deck as a concept can be. Uh, and I found very satisfying results. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm going to talk about the archetype. I'm going to talk about all the cards. I'm going to give like a very brief synopsis on how it works, and then I'm going to show you potential ways and options that you can play with these cards. And then I'm going to show you my tournament experience with it because I did take it to another tournament, and I kind of just want to like transition one thing I've been doing in this channel before with something that I'm doing right now. And you'll see what I mean by that very soon. So, the Goblin Rider archetype consists of four main deck monsters, two XYZs, two spells, and one trap card. All the Goblin Rider main deck monsters are level 3. The XYZs are a rank 3 and a rank 6. And then you have a continuous spell, a normal spell, and a continuous trap. Let's go to the monsters one by one. I guess I can explain them very quickly. Doug the Assaulter adds a spell or trap on summon. Uh, Clutter the Noisy can special summon one from the graveyard. Goblin Rider Mianda can special summon from the hand. Goblin Rider Boon is an exception to all the other three because it does not have a summon effect. However, as a quick effect, you can special summon this from your hand or graveyard, detaching the material of one XYZ. All the Goblin Riders detach the material from XYZ to summon themselves. However, Goblin Rider Boon, the max speed, is the best one because it can do it from both hand and graveyard, and it can do it in either player's main phase. Doug the Zolter can special summon from hand and during your main phase. Clutter the Noisy can special summon from graveyard during your main phase. And Mianda, my bad, opponent's main phase. And Mianda can special summon from your graveyard during your main phase. So you have one summon from hand, two summons from graveyard, one from either hand or graveyard, and only these two are quick effects. But this one is specifically on your opponent's turn, while the max speed is on either player's turn. You're probably wondering why do all these goblin have like interactions with XYZ monsters? What is their gimmick? Using these XYZs, and in order to answer that question, let's go and read the XYZs themselves, and then you'll understand what I mean. So we have Goblin Rider Big Head Gabonga. This is our generic rank 3. And it reads, if this card is XYZ summoned, you can add one Goblin monster from your deck to your hand. So you have basically a way to add all these Goblins. So if a material is detached from a monster on the field, take note, it does not have to be Gabonga. You can target one other face-up monster on the field, attach it to this card as material. It can attach any monster, not just monsters from your side of the field. It can also attach opponent's monsters. During the end phase, you can attach one goblin monster from your deck to this card as material. So essentially, your game plan is to summon the Goblin Rider Gabonga. With the Gabonga, you want to add another Goblin to your hand, and depending on which Goblin that you add, you keep just using the cards to just keep resourcing advantage. You can special summon Dog the Assaulter by detaching from Gabonga, and then just have Assaulter as a spell card. You can optionally use Gabonga to attach back the Assaulter, and then you just keep going. You can add Mianda, and then Mianda detach from Gabonga, and then use Mianda to special summon another Goblin. And depending on which Goblin you summon, it has their field effect. So now that you know about how this works, I'm going to read the other XYZ, and then I'll go with the spell and trap cards. So Goblin's Crazy Beast is a rank 6. You're probably wondering, how are we summoning a rank 6 in a rank 3 deck? We will get to that when we get to the spell cards. So once per turn, as a quick effect, you can target one spell trap card on the field, detach 2 materials from monsters on the field. It does not just have to be Crazy Beast. And if you do, attach that card as a material. If a monster you control will be destroyed by card effect, you can detach 1 material from this card instead. So basically, this is like Orcus Dingirsu. It pretty much protects your monsters from being destroyed. If this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. Then you can attach 1 Goblin monster from your graveyard to it as material. You can only use this effect of Goblin's Crazy Beast once per duel. This is a very crazy effect. Basically, it means that you can link summon or XYZ on top of this monster for free, and then you just get another free summon for another Goblin. And depending on what Goblins you have in your hand or graveyard, you just can just keep extending and keep going, so on and so forth. So now that we read all the monsters, let's read the spell and trap cards. Let's start with this spell right here, Grand Arrival of the Goblin Riders. So this says add 1 Goblin monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can detach 1 material from a monster on the field, and if you do, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Goblin from your hand. So this is Rhoda, but if you control XYZ, it also becomes an extender. And I think this is very good because not only are you extending with that monster, but you're using this spell effect to do that, meaning that if those monsters end up in the graveyard or they end up in your hand again, you can just use their own effects to just keep detaching and keep special summoning. You can banish this card from your graveyard, detach 1 material from a monster on the field, then you can add 1 Goblin from your graveyard to your hand. Another really crazy effect, this pretty much gives you follow-up, but it also gives you combo extension as an extra effect from the graveyard. I think out of all the Rhoda type spells that we have in the game, this is one of the craziest ones that we have, because not only is it a Rhoda, but it's also an extender, and it also is recursion. So now let's read Grand Meaning of the Goblin Riders. Goblin monsters you control gain 300 attack for each Goblin you control. During your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Goblin monster in addition to your normal or summoner set. You can target 2 Goblin monsters that you control that have 1 level, and then activate one of these effects. The level of one becomes the other. The level of both monsters becomes their original levels. The reason they have this effect is because we do have other goblins in the game that are not level 3. We have Goblin Attack Force, we have Goblin King, we have Memento Goblin, just to mention a few examples. So if you ever want to be more dynamic and just summon more different XYZs out of different levels, this card helps you do that. This also helps you to get to a rank 6 because if you take 2 level 3s, 3 plus 3 equals 6, so that equivalates to making rank 6s. And that's how you get to the Crazy Beast. This also just gives you an extra normal summon. So pretty good card overall. Uh, Basically, uh, the way Konami intends you to play Goblin Raiders is just summon one, then summon another one, and then just make an XYZ, and then just start siphoning advantage by like detaching Goblin cards left and right, and just keep using the goblins to detach and attach more as well. Now that we explained all the Goblin Raiders, let's talk about a few other cards to note. Um, Clutter the Noisy is a Beast Warrior, so you can add it with Fire Formation Tenki. Both Mach Speed and Assaulter are warriors, so you can play Rhoda. And then you have Mionda, that is a Fiend, so you can summon it from the deck with Tour Guide, which is really good for combo extension because whichever rank 3 XYZ you make, you can just detach the Mionda and then have Mionda detach another material from that same XYZ and then have Mionda special summon from the hand, and you just start like eating more and more card advantage that way. So those are a few notes that we bring up. So what is the most optimal way of playing these goblins? Like, if you take note, all these goblins are only useful if you control an XYZ. If you control no XYZ, there are no real plays that you can do for combo extension with these cards, uh, unless you are using multiple cards for that. And we have a couple of options. Option one is just play level 3 extenders that can just summon themselves. Like you have, for example, Egypt Sabers. You have Virtual World Himenianian. You have Speedroid Terratop, which you will see in this deck. You have a few other options. Option number 2 is pair these goblins with another XYZ centric deck. Ideally, a deck that can make rank 3 XYZs. So I'm going to draw a few examples. You have Zodiacs and you have Purrely. These are two XYZ centric strategies, and they both make XYZs with just one card. So essentially, by doing that, you have a way of just activating your Goblin monsters and have your Goblin monsters just start siphoning advantage that way. But what is the problem with this scenario that I'm mentioning? The big problem with this scenario is that despite these being one card XYZs, they do not like the goblins don't add anything to their strategy. That just makes them like more viable, and they don't provide anything for goblins that pretty much makes goblin more viable. Which comes to the second option. The second option is just play more rank 3 focused XYZ decks. One of them is Phantom Knights. Like you have your Phantom Knight monsters, just to have like one example. This engine has been played multiple times in the past. We've seen a lot of people experiment with this, being like with Brave, Burning Abyss, Horus, Orchest. Pretty much a lot of good examples. You also have Virtual World. Like in a Virtual World centric deck, basically you can. This is another really good rank 3 deck that just makes a lot of rank 3 XYZs. Meaning that you have fodder for your goblin cards, and you can get summon Gabonga, which also gets you to their goblin cards. So those are pretty much other examples. We're just going to draw the rest of the cards that you can play. Kagemusha Knight is another good extender. Emergency Teleport, which gets you to both Tracker and Wheeler. These are other really good extenders. This also gets you to Virtual World Nyan Himenianian, which Nyan has a graveyard effect to special summon herself. So this is another really strong tool. You have the Speedroid Terratop, like I mentioned beforehand. I think Konami put this card on semi-limited status just pretty much to like help out this archetype, because outside of Goblin Riders, there's no real rank 3 strategy that is getting like more recent support. You can play this in like your older decks like Phantom Knight, etc. However, I think like post Phantom Nightmare, you're going to slowly realize that Goblin Riders are just going to become like the best rank 3 deck. So now that you see what we end up doing with these Goblin cards, let's show you some things that you can end up doing. Let's say you already summoned the Gabonga, and the Gabonga is going to add a monster. With the Gabonga, you can add the Dog the Assaulter, have Dog take a material away from Gabonga, and have the Assaulter add you the Arrival, and then you can use Arrival. Arrival can grab you back Boon, the Max Speed, Clutter the Noisy, or Mianda, and it depends on the rest of your hand. So you can go into Mianda to special from hand. You can go to summon Clutter, and Clutter can just special summon one from the graveyard if you already have one. And you can also grab Rider Boon and use the Arrival effect to summon Boon from the to the field instead of using Boon's own effect. And the reason you want to do that is because with Boon's own effect, you can just use Boon to just detach from Gabonga on your opponent's turn, and then it turns Gabonga into an interruption, because then this can take a monster as a material. Goblin Rider Boon is also really strong because let's say you're actually playing against the Purrely deck, and let's say your opponent just has like a bunch of Purrely monsters. I should have grabbed Noir as an example here, but let's pretend that this is like Purrely Noir, and we're just going to attach a bunch of monsters as a material. So let's pretend this is Purrely Noir and it has like 5 materials, meaning that it's unaffected. Essentially, something that you can do is you can activate the Rider Boon like as a quick effect and just detach from the Noir. And take note that Purrely Noir loses its quick effect if it loses a level 1 Purrely monster as a material. So if either Pure Lily or Purrely are not in the Noir as materials, they essentially lose an interruption because of it. And take note, this detaching to special summon does not target, meaning that it gets around Purrely Street, it gets around them being unaffected, it gets around like a lot of things. So against decks like Purrely, the Goblin Rider deck is already really really strong. So what are other XYCs that we can make with these? Because we're staring just a bunch of goblins and just a Kabanga. So one XYC that we can make, well, something that we can do is just play like archetype XYCs. Like, let's say for example you play the Chariot Carry. This gives you the ability of playing Gold Pride alongside Goblin Riders. So you have now an avenue to play Gold Pride as a strategy. You can also like summon virtual world monsters. You can summon Phantom Knight monsters. Like, these are all like rank 3 XYC decks. So essentially, if you want to bridge into a strategy with their own respective archetypes, you can do that because these XYC monsters are generic. Another really good XYC that you should take note of is Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. I think Gossip Shadow is going to be like one of your main plays with this deck because it is a way for you to play around Nibiru. It was a way of you playing around Effect Veiler, Ghost Bell, just to give an example of a few notable trap cards or hand traps. Also, you can attach multiple materials to this, and you can use the Gossip Shadow to give itself as a to another monster alongside these materials. So as long as it's a numbers. So if you're playing number XYZ monsters, you can just give this to your other monsters and then have those monsters have a bunch of materials, meaning that you can essentially have infinite fodder for your Goblin Raiders. Another rank 3 package that you can play is the Armor XYZ package. I highly, highly, highly recommend you doing this. I think if you're playing any rank 3 deck, you should play the XYZ Armor package. It's essentially a +2, and you're only playing one brick in your deck, which is the full Armor XYZ. It does take the extra space of 3 cards, but you can end games a lot quicker. You can do a lot of crazy things. And yeah, I'm going to be showcasing you as a duel, a bunch of duels. This was from PAX last Phantom Nightmare tournament. I took the Goblin Rider strategy, and you're going to see a familiar face with this strategy. And I'll pause it as I go along. So right now you see Terratop, you see 2 copies of Emergency Teleport, and you see the max speed, and you see the Ghost Spell. We're already off at a really good start because just summoning Terratop means that we can get to any rank 3 without our normal summon. So we grab the Taketomborg, we special Taketomborg, and we summon Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. And now we're going to activate Emergency Teleport, and we're going to summon No Punk Ze Amen. So, in the past couple of months, you've been seeing me play the Punk deck, or the Punk strategy. I've took it to multiple locals. I've been playing around with it for this new upcoming format as well. And this is a really good bridge into Goblin Riders. Essentially, the way I built this strategy is pretty much a punk centric focused deck. However, the Goblin Riders serve as extra extenders in order to like make a very stronger end board with this strategy. So right now, all you're going to be seeing is typical punk plays. Like everything you're seeing right now is stuff that you've seen in the past with the punk strategy. My opponent is playing Goatee, and he now starts doing his Goatee plays. So he goes to Snopios to banish these 2, and now this is going to create a massive chain link that's just going to summon a bunch of monsters. He is chain blocking, so sadly there is no way for me to interact with Ghost Bell. He now activates both of those. I activate the Bamboozling Gossip Shadow because he chose the Zep as chaining 2. Essentially, something that he could have done is put Zep as chaining 1, and that way I could not have the ability to negate it directly with Gossip Shadow, and he has the ability to Synchro Summon. He grabs the Ixip, he banished the Paces, Ixip gets summoned, and now I proceed with the punk plays. If you've seen the punk strategy and you see me like talk and showcase it in the past, you already know what's coming. We do draw into the Dog the Assaulter. We grab Mana Spider. We grab Dangerous Gabu. We draw out of Jam Session. I'm reminded they're already normal summoned. So we now do teleport into Wielder. We summon the Amazing Dragon. The reason we're doing this is just to clear the opponent's board. Now we know most of the cards in his hand are Goatee cards. So essentially we just need to prepare ourselves for like the upcoming onslaught of Goatees when they summon on the next turn. We now summon Gabonga. Gabonga grabs us Mianda. We can use the Assaulter. We grab Stampede. We detach to summon Mianda. And now we make full armor Torpedo. We grab the Fortress. We set 3. And then we attach Clutter the Noisy. And this is pretty much our end board in the punk strategy. You've already been familiar with this in the past. In the past, we usually just draw like 3 cards in our combo, and we end up like having the dangerous Gabu and the full armor XYZ as an interruption. However, we now have Goblin Rider Stampede as another interruption, which is pretty cool. Now, essentially, this deck has a way of searching 3 interruptions for your opponent's turn. It kind of feels like Rescue Ace on that regard. Very similar to how you are setting multiple back rows with your similar way you're setting multiple back row with your Rescue Ace Turbulence. You are doing essentially the same thing, but with the Punk and the Goblins. And this is really good, cool, because not only do you have interaction with monsters, you also have it with trap cards, and we also have Ghost Bell, and not only that, we also have follow up for next turn. So now they're going to start playing. They summon a Soul Synchron. We chain for MSYC. He summons Sprite Jet. We use the Stampede effect to both negate and to attach. They're using Snopios. Snopios gets summoned. He's using Snopios effect targeting the Goblin. We're going to use full armor XYZ to attach the armor torpedo. And now we're going to use the armor lancer to attach the Synchron. And we're going to use the Gabu to negate the Goatee. We got rid of all his tuners. That's essentially what you want to do against the Goatee deck. He had a potential line for a rank 6 XYZ, but not many people are doing that in Goatee. Most Goatee players are just mainly focused on synchro summoning, especially since they're playing the Assault Synchron package. So if you have ways of getting rid of tuners, that's essentially what you should be doing against the Goatee deck. And so we end up winning this duel. Next match is against Quanto. For those who don't remember, he is our Master Duel champion. Like our World Master Duel champion. He's also topped a bunch of YCSs. And obviously he's in the duelist circle like more often than not. So he was a shoo-in for playing in Tupac's tournament. So this is me playing the Punk strategy. So I took a huge gamble. And this gamble did not pay off because he did have a second hand trap. So I had 2 potential options. Option 1 was using Sharakusai to summon this. But if this ended up resolving, it was going to be a very huge blowout. The other option, which is the option that I should have done, is summon Gabanga and essentially just have Gabanga try to add me another monster. And if he imprims that, we have the Grand Arrival already in our hand to just keep extending. And we pretty much just would have ended on the Goblin Rider like interruptions without like relying on much else. And he does have like his Fire King line, but we have Ghost Ogre, and Ghost Ogre plus the Goblin Rider setup would have been enough to pretty much secure this game. He drew into draw. He now does this Fire King stuff. So this is just to like take note of some things that you should do in the future. If you know you have combo extension, you pretty much do that. Now you see Pack. Say hello to Pack. So now we start a turn. Our opponent has no hand traps this time. So now we're pretty much going to resolve the entire combo. The only real caveat is he did open evenly matched. And we also see that he has a double island. So we do Jam Dragon Drive. We add, we draw, we add with Spider, we draw out of the jam session, we special into Gabanga, Gabanga grasslands into Dog the Assaulter, We now use Dug, detach, Dug as a spell. We have a rival. We attack our rival. And this is the play we should have done last game. Instead of just making the entire punk line, we should just summon Gabonga. Now you're seeing what happens if you have Gabonga and you have Grand Arrival. Now we summon the Armor XYZ Torpedo. We summon the Armor Fortress. Armor Fortress grabs us full armor. And now we have a couple of interruptions. And we have Chirkusai and we have Clutter the Noisy. So he's essentially trying to enter the battle phase. That pretty much forces Chirakusai, because Chirakusai, it can be done during the battle phase, I guess. I actually did not think of that. I actually thought this was in the main phase. So if your opponent just says battle phase, just let them enter battle phase, and in the battle phase activate the Chirakusai. That way you don't fall victim to triple tactic talents. We both realized that a little bit later, but you can't make Punisher. Pack brings it up. It has to only be punk monsters. Easy fix. We also have Warhammer XYZ. He now activates the evenly match. We chain the magic deflector. And now he summons Snake Eye Ash. We now and what you're about to witness is what you do with Goblin Riders during your opponent's turn as interruptions. So Snake Eye Ash is chaining 1. We're going to be chaining 2. We're going to detach from Gabonga to activate the max speed. This is a quick play. This is a quick effect, and it's either player's turn, and it's during the main phase. So essentially we can do that. Another option was to detach to summon Clutter the Noisy. So he activates Populous, we activate the Gabonga, and we also activate Droll. Droll is really strong in this strategy. So now the Poplar has no effect. He tries to end the turn, and I just show him that I have Clutter the Noisy. The Clutter the Noisy is going to trigger, so Clutter the Noisy is going to summon Dog the Assaulter. And now during the end phase, the Gabonga is going to attach one, so we're going to attach the Mianda. And this is basically how the Goblin Rider deck works. Like, this is essentially what you want to end up doing with them. You just want to interrupt them on their turn, and then just give yourself follow-up with all these Goblin Rider monsters, like, during your opponent's turn. Like, if we were not on the draw, the Assaulter would have added us another card. Take note, you also have the Arrival Graveyard effect to banish itself, to detach, to also add another Goblin. So essentially this deck has a lot of follow-up. We summon the Gossip Shadow, and we just summon SP. We don't have a way to just end the turn. End the duel. At least I thought of that until, I guess you'll just notice in a second. We attack Gabonga. We summon Zeamin. Zeamin triggers. Zeamin adds Foxy Tune. We're only playing one copy of Deer Note in this list, so we're not going to be summoning another Jam. If this wasn't my old Punk list, then we would have had another Jam Dragon line. But this is still OTK, and you'll see why in a moment. So I attack with the SP Little Knight. We're going to attack with Foxy Tune, and we're going to attack with the Gabonga. But before we enter the damage step, we're going to attach Full Armor XYZ to the Big Head Gabonga. And if we read Full Armor XYZ, the equipped monster gains attack to equal to the attack of what monster is equipped. So what's going to happen now is we're going to equip XYZ Armor Torpedo, and that's going to give it 2500 attack, meaning that Gabonga is a 4600 attack. So 46, 16, and 29, that's game. Now we're going to game 3. And he has the entire Fire King set up. We do have Droll, so we're just going to try to end their turn with Droll. They do talents. Since we're on stream, we're just showing the cards. He summons Linkuriboh. He paused the Populace. He summons the Oak. And this was a misplay on his end. Essentially, so instead of making the Linkuriboh, what he should have done is use the Snake Eye Ash effect on Ash and Poplar to then summon the Oak, and then what he should have done is he chain blocks the Oak with the Populous. The Populous is going to put back, and the Oak gets to summon. And then what should have happened afterwards is like then have them be summoned for the Flamberge Dragon. However, he does have the Flamberge in hand, so he gets punished because now we Ghost Bell, and the Ghost Bell is going to stop the Oak, meaning that it stops the entire turn. And now we're going to summon Xiamen. I'm pretty unsure why he's playing Lancia. Maybe he plays it because of Evenly Matched. I don't banish from the graveyard that often, except with the Jam Session. And I don't really need Jam Session to just extend with this deck. So this was a very unorthodox hand trap for them to play. Droll Lockbird was really solid. The Droll Lockbird is going to force me to play differently. I can't just go Goblin Raider mode against him now. So the only line I can think of off the top of my head right now is to summon Zeus. The problem with Zeus is he does have the Linkuriboh, and meaning that the monster that is on the board is a monster that we have to get rid of on the board this turn. If we don't do that, he's going to summon Typhon, and Typhon is going to get rid of the Zeus. But if we end up using Zeus and he draws into any card that makes him play the next turn, he essentially just wins the game outright. However, I immediately forgot that I have to enter the damage step in order to summon Zeus, and I pretty much, as Qualto says here, throwing for content. I don't make this shit on purpose. It's just stuff that happens on the spot. But essentially, what you should have done is just enter the damage step, attack the Oak, take 200, and just summon Zeus. It's very tough to say whether or not you get rid of the Oak, because if he does summon Typhon, he gets rid of your Gossip. However, him summoning Typhon means that he has no other plays during the turn because he cannot summon any other monsters during the turn. And that's good for you because you have Ogre Dance, and Ogre Dance is going to grab Xiamen, which means that you can just play the next turn. If you get rid of this, then essentially what ends up happening is him top decking Bonfire, which means he has the entire combo and you cannot stop it. So the right play was pretty much just attacking and threatening Zeus. I do not play Downer Magician on this list. Downer Magician was another potential option because it would have made it so you get rid of the Oak and you still had Zeus for next turn, putting him on very, very limited resources. But yeah, shout out to Qualto. He pretty much just won this duel. I threw away the game, but the real reason for this was just to showcase you the power of Goblin Raiders, just showing you that how viable this deck is as a strategy. You can play with Phantom Knights, you can play with Punk, you can play with Virtual World, you can play with Gold Pride, you can play it as its own standalone deck with just a lot of plethora of extenders. I don't recommend the Zodiac version, although it does bridge into Tenki's grabbing Cluttered and Noisy. But that's pretty much it. So that's it from me. I hope you found this video informative. I hope you found this to your liking and understanding. Until next time, keep practicing and keep dueling.